Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That is good. That is good.
Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I'm here to review a game for you. Well, technically I'm going to review an expansion to a game for you. The game that the expansion is for is, well, strangely, it's a game I've reviewed, but when I first started doing my reviews, I actually did written reviews. And this is a game I did a written review of. And it came out quite a long time ago, obviously. And the thing about it is that this is one of the games I got like right at the beginning of my whole excitement with the whole board game industry, if you will, when I kind of got back into it. And actually, I remember I picked this up like right after I moved into this house, actually. So anyway, the game is Age of Conan, and I really like this game. I've always enjoyed it. I'm a huge Conan the Barbarian fan and a big lover of the movies. Not the most recent one. I mean, I even like Conan the Destroyer, but I mean, Conan the Barbarian had one of the best soundtracks ever, technically, and it was a very good fantasy movie. I mean, it wasn't for its time, and admittedly, for the fact that Arnold is in it, it's a little bit, it suited him pretty well, because he wasn't expected really to act, technically. But I remember I love the beginning opening scene of Conan the Barbarian, where you see all those people grabbing that rope and they're pulling it, and then you realize it's feeding this giant bellows that is then making the sword that Conan's father had. But anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I'm a huge fan of Conan. I remember the old Marvel plus-size black and white magazine / comic. I had a subscription to that when I was younger. I read all of the old Conan novels. I stole so many ideas from those short stories of Conan and used them in my D&D campaigns, and I just, the whole creation of him. I mean, when you actually go back, and if you don't know the whole Robert E. Howard and what he did, really, I mean, he was writing stuff that was you read those books now, and it feels like it's something you'd find on the shelf today, and those books were written in the 1920s, and then that was something, it was so new and so profoundly ahead of its time, if you will. But anyway, so when this game came out, Age of Conan, when I heard about it, I was super excited for it. I thought that this game would be awesome, and it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. I had this image that Conan was going to be smashing people's heads in with a big giant double-bladed axe, and he was going to be laying waste to Hyboria. And the thing is that instead it's actually kind of a it's a war game, kind of. It's a lot. I've had one of my friends actually describes it as a true 4-player game of War of the Ring. And I can kind of buy into that because of the dice and everything like that. And I'm not going to go into how to play Age of Conan. You can find other reviews. I'll have a link to my old written review if you want to actually read that. Please feel free. And I gave it a super glowing review, because I mean, it was a game that I just adored, and I still played it, and I it's a game that I've owned for a very long time, and it was something that it's the terminology, the evergreen game, if you will. It's something that I would still break out, and my friends and I it was one of those things what do we want to play today? Let's play Age of Conan, and we'd play it again, and it's one of those games that we really like. So what I am going to do is, okay, I'm sorry. I had a couple of issues with it. I mentioned, it wasn't exactly the game that I thought it would be. The thing was, it was Conan, wasn't the focus of the game. Conan just kind of was this like weird pinata. I mentioned this in my written review. He's kind of like this weird like little pinata that people kind of bounce back and forth all over the map, and he spits out these adventure tokens that you get to claim. And the adventure tokens are worth points at the end of the game, and that kind of determines who will be the ruler of Hyboria. And so, you know, I always felt like Conan just wasn't really used correctly. I mean, he wasn't really involved in the game, and that was one thing. That was the one thing that me and my game group took from the game as being like not so much like a problem, but just kind of a letdown, if you will. And when I heard about this expansion, and Ares Games contacted me, because I guess that Fantasy Flight Games has had Age of Conan forever, and I think, if I'm assuming, this idea of this expansion's been rolling around for quite a long time, but for whatever reason, Fantasy Flight didn't produce it, or what have you, and maybe they had no intention, or maybe they didn't know about it at all. But what I understand is the license for this game went back to Ares, and now they can do whatever the heck they want with it. And so now, after this game has been out for like 4 years, or 5, or whatever it is, they're going to have this really cool expansion. And so when they contacted me, when Ares Games contacted me, and they said, you know, we saw you had this review, and what do you think of the game? I said, I really love it. And they said, well, we read your review, and you mentioned these things that you had a problem with, and we want to show you this expansion that we came up with, and we think this solves kind of those problems. And it does a ton. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the different aspects, the different things that are being added with this expansion. But if you have no idea what Conan has played or anything like that, I really suggest you go read my review. I know my good friend, name dropping, my really good friend, actually no, but my good friend Marco, actually had never heard of the game, and he got a copy of it just recently, and he played it, and he loved it, and he does a very excellent job of that, and with his permission, I'm going to include that link, so you can want to watch a video of how the game is played. I'll add that as well. So I would suggest that if you have no idea how Age of Conan is played, you go there, either read my old review, watch Marco's review, and I hate doing that. I mean, it's one of those things where the Kickstarter for the expansion is coming to a close, and I don't really have the time to do another big long review of Age of Conan, especially when there's already one that's really good out there, and especially since I reviewed it like many years ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the different aspects of the expansion, what they add, what they're kind of mixing up a little bit, and then we'll come back here and I'll tell you once again. Well, I pretty much told you the game, it rocks, but I'll touch on a couple of quick things in my conclusion, and hopefully I can convince you that if you have the base game, that you should get this expansion. I'm pretty sure if you have the base game, you've already probably kickstarted it, but if you, I think you can pick up both the base game and the expansion all in one fell swoop through the Kickstarter. So, okay, well, cool. Let me show you what the expansion adds to Age of Conan. Okay, this is the stuff that I printed off from the print and play PDF that Ares Games sent me. Keep that in mind, obviously. This, I can't guarantee what the actual game is going to look like, or the expansion is going to look like. I do know that they've gotten a bunch of the stretch goals that they made, and so I'm going to be talking about these spy tokens eventually. Those aren't going to be tokens in the game. Those are actually going to be, from what I understand, they're going to be like actual miniatures and things like that. So just something to keep in mind as I'm going through the different aspects of what's going to be added to the game. In addition to what you see in front of you, and I am going to talk about everything that you see in front of you, they are going to include more objective cards and more adventure cards, or kingdom cards, I should say, for Stygia, Hyboria, Apollonia, and Tehran, the 4 kingdoms that, for the game, one person for each kingdom. And that's always nice when you just get more of those cards. You're just going to shuffle right into the existing decks of the game, and more cards for the decks is never a bad thing. Just add up variability and what have you. So There you go. I'll try to go through everything. These are going to be more adventure tokens they're going to include. You can collect these just like you collect them in the base game, either from moving Conan along his adventure, and then you'll be able to collect them, or when you get to draw one randomly out of the bag. These are companion adventure tokens, and you can see here that you can turn them in for gold and sorcery, you see there, or you can turn them in to get a companion, and so Valeria, Belit, Taurus, and so each one of these like little companions, you're gonna place this card, down in front of you, and you'll be able to like say here's Taurus, and it says flip when you trade an adventure token for gold to double the amount of gold you receive, and so you will have that, and then you'll flip them over. And then when you flip them over, this little thing right here, it says +1 treasure, will be revealed, and that's an extra treasure token, or when you get to the end of the game, when you determine like extra victory points for having the most tokens of a certain type. And so like the idea with the mechanism is, since you have them like this, this would be on the other side, and so what's on the side because you look at it and you put it face down like that. And at the end of the game, you'll get to flip it over anyway. So it's one of those things where you can keep it secret. So if you've played the base game, having the most tokens of a certain type earns you bonus points. And if you can keep that information secret as long as possible, then other players can't know what you're going to get, and so they can just see a big stack of tokens and they don't know what you're going to have. So that's another level of secrecy that you can maintain, if you will, and keep that from them. So I really like the companions. It's just that added level of more stuff you can do, and different ways you can affect it. Adventure, like the adventures, once again, see the insert province flavor here. Yeah, okay, well, so these are the number of adventure tokens you'll be placing on the adventure path of the base game, and just the location. What you'll do is you will be taking this particular deck, and you will be like just removing the other adventure deck and using this one instead. These do not get shuffled in to the other adventure cards. It's a brand new. So if you're using the expansion, you have to use that. I'm gonna talk about the spies really quick here. Now, when these little spy tokens, you start with 3, and then at the beginning of each new age you get another one, and so you can have up to 5. They can be killed by Conan actually, and then they're out of the game if they're killed. You place these in either a neutral or area that's controlled by somebody else. You do the beginning of the game, and also then you do the change of ages as well. And when either you attack the area that is with one of these in there, because you can't put it in your own spots. They don't work there. But if you use it to attack a spot that has one of these, or you can flip it over, and then you get an extra combat die to roll when you attack that area. Alternatively, if it is in a spot that is being attacked, you can flip it over to affect the defender as well. And so that's just another thing that you can do. As I mentioned, Conan can kill those. If somebody moves Conan into the spot, he can roll to attack the person who moves Conan into that spot. They can roll to attack to kill that guy off, and it isn't returned to you if he succeeds. He's actually removed from the game, and so you'd lose your spy for that particular spot. And it should be noted that this won't make any sense to you right this instant, but if Conan does succeed in that, he actually gains experience from doing that. And yes, Conan is like a person that gains experience and gains levels in this game now, something I really like, just because it really fits Conan. So, one other thing quickly, when you are successful in a battle, or when your people are defeated, you have to give the person who defeats them one of these little prisoner tokens. And with the prisoner tokens, what you can do is, after the ends of ages, you can actually have discussions with other players and negotiate to have prisoner tokens exchanged back and forth, so you can get those back, and then they can then be turned into more troops. Alternatively, the person who has the prisoner can like kind of conscript them, if you will, and add them to their own army as well, instead of like trading them. Or if you want to just keep them as the token themselves, at the end of the game, the person with the most is actually, they're worth points as well. So they have a bunch of different things that they can do, and that's just like, so one of the, I do like that aspect as well, just because of the fact that it kind of forces the players to have interaction, if you will. I mean, not that like if you need that. A lot of times people play the game and there's going to be tons of interaction anyway, because, and my players and my friends, we play this, we always do, just because we're always lots of table chatter and making deals and breaking deals left and right. But if you don't have a group like that, if you don't have, admittedly we've known each other for so long that it's really easy to do that, but if you're playing a game at a convention or something like that, it's fun to have kind of like that implementation, that force into that interaction with the other players at the table to discuss those things. So, all right, well, I've been kind of dodging this big giant board in the middle here, and so I'm going to touch on that. I'm also going to touch on these story cards that you get. So each player will start off with a story card, and on their turn, they're able to, like, if they can play it, which is, they can then do a test, and they can gain a, you can see that they're able then to send Conan on his story, if you will. And if you don't, you're also the option, if you don't want to play it, you can discard it and draw a new one, or if you don't happen to have one, you can draw one. And so the whole point is that you're kind of, you're hoping to get, like, your card, like, it says here, play if Conan is in a province of the south, or play if Conan is inside or adjacent to Koth. And these are all locations on the board. If you can go and see pictures of the board, or like if you have the game, you know what I'm talking about here. Play if Conan is in the province. So if they're in there and and Conan satisfies the need of the cards you have, then you can play them. So okay, when you play a card though, okay, we're gonna say here we have the Veil of the Lost Women, and the Conan story. Conan, chief of Bamala, saves an Ophirian woman from a rival tribe and from a creature from the stars. So, I can picture that in my mind perfectly, because just classic old school Conan. But anyway, so you see here, you're going to be testing the strength of Conan, and this 2 up here is you immediately are going to be moving, giving Conan 2 experience. Whether he succeeds or fails in the adventure, he's going to gain experience from doing it. And so, and this thing says woman here. This will allow you to re-roll dice. If you have a adventure token that has women on it, you don't use it, you don't spend it, but you flip it over. And you can't use a token that's already been flipped over. But once again, as I said before, that's information you're giving. You're telling people, I have this token that has, this, that women, like value of 2 or whatever. And you can then re-roll. But okay, so let me just take a moment here to explain this path. So you can see there's a big C here. That's where you'll have like a marker on here. We just use like a gem, and you'll move it, and he'll go on this little path. And that's his experience. And you can see then this is for Conan the Warrior, the red one. And then so when he gets to here, it's Conan the Mercenary. And when he gets to here, and I'm going to explain more about this in just a second. When he gets to here, it's Conan the General. And so, and these will be like different colored dice, I believe, that you'll have, and that you'll be rolling. Normally, like when Conan aids in a battle, you just rolled another die, but you'll actually have a specific die now for depending on what type of person Conan is at this stage of the game. And you can see here, like Conan, the warrior, has a strength of 2, an agility of 3, and a cunning of 1. And so 3, 3, 2, and then 4, 3, 3. So he's like gaining levels. He's getting better. He's getting more powerful. And you can kind of see even the pictures in the background. Like here he is. He's just kind of like this barbarian self, if you will. And like getting a little bit. He's got armor on, and he's got like a little more ornate of a sword there. And then when you get here, now you see him. He's on a horse, and he's got the big helmet on, and so Conan is becoming more Conan, if you will. But anyway, so these little charts here, you have markers that will start. They'll start here in this where it's pointing, and then you'll have a marker that will rotate around this particular dial, if you will, and you can, if you want, spend gold to move it, 1 gold per spot. And so what you'll do, so in this case, you're rolling strength, and so if Conan was a warrior, and let's say he hadn't moved yet, it's at a +1. So you'd have 2 strength and +1. Well, the thing is that you have to get 3 successes on the combat dice, 3 hits, if you will, on the combat dice for that to succeed. And so in that case, you'd have +1. You're only rolling 3 dice. So the chance of you succeeding, since you need 3 successes, probably isn't really great. So if you spent gold and you got it to this +3, you would have 5 dice in that case, and you get to roll them. And so you roll them, and if you got 2 successes, you could then spend. You could flip over one of your women adventure tokens, revealing it to the rest of the players. But then you could re-roll the ones that didn't succeed, and then see if you then would pass the test. Now, if you fail, nothing happens. It's a situation where you just nothing. Obviously you still get the experience. Conan still gets the experience of going on the thing, but then it's going on. But if you succeed, you can then go ahead and draw 2 adventure tokens out of the bag, and then you get. And it isn't one situation where you keep one and get rid of one. You keep one and put it face down, but then the other one you immediately turn it in for gold and sorcery based on the icons on the whatever token that you pulled up over there. Oh, I just made a mistake. You don't roll the ones that don't succeed. You roll. When you flip over a token, like with the woman token for it, you actually roll the number of dice that are equal to the value of that particular token that you turn over. So there you go. So I apologize for making that mistake. So that's, and then so you go on all those stories, and this is like another thing. And so then after you've gone on there, you get another card, and so it's just one of those. It adds an element of adventure, if you will, to the game. Now, so when you go on these adventures, that's actually raising the experience level of Conan, because you're getting the experience that's played in the story cards. Now, you have to do that to get Conan to this spot here where the crown is. Now, if you remember, if you haven't played the Age of Conan game, there is a way to speed up the end of the game where you can try to crown Conan king. As a leader of the nation, you try to convince him that you want him to be the king of your particular nation, and then you can win the game. Or actually, you don't automatically win, but you get a bunch of points for doing so. And and if you fail, he actually kills you and you're out of the game. But so you can't do that until you get to this spot right here. You'll also notice that there's this like +2 +0, +3 +1, +4 +2, +5 +2, +6 +3. Now, in the base game, when you counted up your adventure tokens to see who had the majority in, it was just worth +5 +2. And that was just what it is. But if you get to the end of the game and Conan is only, say, like right here, in these little white areas here, it's to lead is only +2 in that particular thing. And if you get him all the way to here, it's worth +6 +3. So there's a varying level for the adventure tokens and what they're worth. And if you ever do get Conan all the way here, the game immediately ends at that point as well. So that's another way you can kind of force the end of the game, and without having to crown Conan. So this is, I really like this. I mean, it gives Conan a sense of presence, if you will, and it adds a level to the game that makes it supremely enjoyable. And as a big fan of Conan and the comics and everything like that, I think this edition right here sells me completely on the expansion. Even if nothing else was there, I would get it just for this right there and there alone. So well, that's what the expansion adds. So let me tell you exactly why I love this expansion, why I love the base game, in my conclusion right now. Okay, there we go. That is what the expansion will be adding to Age of Conan. Now, I don't usually review expansions, mostly because I don't know. I mean, usually, I don't usually like expansions. Mostly because most expansions seem to just have this attitude of, hey, remember that game you've played a ton of and you know exactly how to play? Yes. Well, here's all these new rules and stuff that you're going to have to relearn. And I'm like, why could you just add like a bunch of more cards, or you know, give me another deck of monsters or something to add to it? I don't have to learn or relearn to play a game, and then like when I go play to somebody else's house, he doesn't have the expansion, so now I gotta relearn the old way to play, and then I'm like, well you don't have this, it's better like this, and I just I always am really scared about that, and I know sometimes people say, well, this expansion fixes all these problems, but Age of Conan doesn't really have problems. The game is fun, period, and it didn't need an expansion to make it better in any way. But amazingly enough, the expansion does make it better, and what it comes down to, why it makes it better. I mean, beyond the mechanisms. I mean, I could go on and on. I could talk to you about, the story cards are awesome. I love the fact that now finally Conan has a different reason to not follow the adventure path that makes sense. Because of the fact that in the past it made more sense always, it seemed, unless he happened to like be near a spot where there's a battle going on that he could help or hinder, and it would help you or hinder your opponent if he was there. It just made more sense to just always head him off towards the adventure so you can get those adventure tokens, so you can have a big stack of those when the end of the game comes. But now you have these story cards in your hand that if you can get him in the right location, the rewards you get from that are excellent, and are sometimes and a lot of times are better than the adventure token that you might collect from going through that process. And then and plus, like, I really enjoy the whole process of the spies that you're placing in the other locations. Because of the fact that you can't really defend against them. The only way you can defend against them, if you will, is if you move, once again, another reason to move Conan into the spot to kill him. and I love the fact that when you do kill them, they're gone. They're out of the game. It isn't like, okay, put this back and next turn you can put it back out there. No, you have this finite number of spies, and if you place them in a spot where Conan's going to get to, then he's going to run them through. And so, I like the prisoners. It's just another way that you can barter with the other players, negotiate with the players, but also hold on to those for points at the end of the game. And plus, adding more cards, the different adventure deck, or the more adding to the kingdom decks, adding more cards. I just, all that stuff, the objectives, it's great. And all of those things mechanically work excellent, and they're seamless when you insert them into the game, and it solves one of the biggest issues, which isn't really a big issue by any means, of like the fact that, and this is what I love about this expansion, is it actually makes Conan. In the original game, Conan, like I mentioned this in my written review, is like Conan is just this, like, we always felt it was just like kind of this little figure that you just moved, and so you can collect points, and that isn't Conan. Conan is an amazing and rich character that was created by Robert E. Howard, and then since after his untimely death, Conan was then. Other people have written about him and expanded upon Conan's life, and RPGs have been made on him, and movies have been made, and video games have been made, and things like that. And they all add to this wonderfully rich tapestry of this world that Conan lives in. That I read those comic books, and I read those novels, and I watched those movies, and I mean, and anybody that is a huge fan who played Dungeons and Dragons, just like I did, we all really liked Conan. I mean, we loved, like, that wonderful, crazy world that he lived in, and that essence, if you will, I never really felt that was ported, that essence of Conan. I mean, like Stygia and all the different locations, that felt like it was part of this game. But the actual essence of Conan, I never really got put into, Age of Conan. And now, if he feels like he's there. I mean, Conan was always this like the man without a home, or and he wandered from place to place and just let his life take him wherever he wanted to end up being or end up doing. And and in a lot of ways he reminds me a lot of like when I first started playing Dungeons and Dragons, when we would like and there was no big giant overarching storyline for our campaign. Instead it was like we're at the tavern, we buy a treasure map to go find this like orb of the elf lords that's hidden in this ruins out in the mountains. And so, okay, here we go, and we would run off and we fight monsters and almost die to traps and spells and what have you, which is what Conan did. And he was just this really clever, really like I'm not going to say ignorant, but he was very stubborn. And he would seem, and lucky too, for that matter, but he was always very clever, and he always like, he let people think that he was dumb, but he wasn't dumb. And when I played with this expansion, when we took this game out, my game group and we took this game out and we played it again for like the first time in a few months, and we all were like saying, this feels like Conan. This he no longer feels like this flat, one-dimensional mechanic of the game. Instead, now Conan is actually here and he's doing stuff, and I love that. I love the fact that now here's a thematic game and a Ameritrash game, if you will, and now I can buy into the entire theme, and I can enjoy like the rich tapestry, the rich story that the game is telling me, which is one of the big aspects that I love about playing a game that is drenched in its theme, which is what Age of Conan is. And so for all those reasons, mechanically, how it adds so much to the game, and also how much theme it adds to the game, I think this makes Age of Conan, which was already one of my favorite games, even like more favoriter, if you will. and I'm really excited to see the expansion come out, because I want to have it like look like the rest of my game, right? And so like it's like right now, obviously, I mean, I have these like the print and play stuff that I did, but which it works perfectly fine, but adding this to the rest of the game and like having it look correct will just make it that much more amazing and excellent, and I can't wait to see it. So if you're a big fan of Conan, I think you probably already own the Age of Conan game. So then I think getting the expansion is a no-brainer. If you are a big fan of fantasy-themed games, if you're a big fan of Conan, and you don't own the base game, I know that you can pick up both the base game and the expansion in the Kickstarter, and that's something you might want to do. And I think it's like $80 shipped. I mean, that's a heck of a good deal. And so for obviously it is a niche, if you will. But I mean, if you like your thematic games, if you like fantasy games, if you like war games, if you like games that pit you against each other, I've always loved games that where I'm actually like going to war against other people. If you like being able to stab each other in the back, if you like negotiating with people, you don't attack me, let's get gang up on this guy, that sort of stuff, I think this game is a must-buy, and I think the expansion takes an already excellent game and raises it up an even further notch. So there you go. Age of Conan and the Age of Conan expansion. If you have any questions at all, by all means, please ask those. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, this was me telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.